Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. Now Monday, August the 8th, and we're just doing a little side project before we bring the body tub back out of the trailer. Going to try to do some dirty work, so to speak, so I don't have the body tub in harm's way. I figured I'd get a few more things out of the way before we pull that out. I did mention that I have a few more parts to paint, and I've got them all on the table here. We have the new door hinges that we need to scrub down, remove the stickers from. These are Moss hinges. They are part number 650112. So we'll put those to good use. If you go back and look in my videos earlier, I've had some problems getting hinges that work. I've had a couple of different sets that I tried to make work. I actually found a set, I think it's from a TR4, that had some little sort of cutouts on this flange, which I wasn't happy with. So we've gone to an actual proper set of hinges. So anyway, we've got to get those painted up into the royal blue. I've got some Goo Gone here and some WD-40 just to get those stickers off. I'm hoping that I may not have to black epoxy prime these. And if I do, I'll just scuff them down. They got to be scuffed down anyway before they go into paint and clear. But I figured if I didn't have to epoxy prime them again and they were black, that would save me a step. Although I'm going to still have to epoxy prime these before I put them into royal blue as well, if I decide to put these into royal blue. I've got another option in the back of my brain that I might do instead, but we shall see. Before we get to that point on these fender ducts, I need to do a few repairs here. Some of the flanges are a little bit torn, where Alin hammered these around a buck and did these with a stretcher. A shrinker stretcher actually. I'm still pretty amazed he was able to do this in one piece. We do have some welding to do along the top here, and then some finish grinding. And obviously we're going to need to sand these down as they begin to have begun to flash rust already. So we'll clean these up a little bit. Then the next thing we need to do on them is we need to actually drill some holes through the Herald grill inserts. These are from an old Herald, and this was what they used on the Works rally cars. We need to drill a few holes to be able to put a few screws through to hold that grill in place. I was thinking of actually riveting them in place, but that might be a bit of an issue. I might have some clearance issues, whether I either put a screw through here or whether I put a rivet. It may actually interfere with these ducts actually sliding through into the holes on the inner body tub, but we shall see. I figured if I did screws, I could always get enough purchase on the screws through the metal and then just sort of zip them off on this side or grind them flush if it's going to be an issue as far as interference is concerned. So I've got those grills marked out on both places. I actually marked them out before I took them off the car, so I know they're in the right location. So anyway, we'll get these cleaned up. We're going to pull those grills out. Another thing I need to do is I need to shrink the grills a little bit, let's say, because once these shells are painted, it's going to be difficult to get the grills back in without scratching up all the clear coat and paint that I've just done. So what I need to do is I need to clean up the flanges a little bit and make this fit a little bit less tight. Right now it's just like a press fit in there, but I'm never going to be able to get them in there, back in there once I've got paint and clear without scratching that up. Hope that makes sense. So we need to clean these up and shrink this just a little bit in order for that to fit a little bit more loosely, let's say, than it does now. The vent lid, some of you might have not noticed that I didn't actually paint it with the panels. I threatened to do so, but I figured I knew I had to do a few other parts, so we saved the vent lid to go with these parts as well. So that would take care of most of the parts painting. The only other thing I would need to paint off the top of my head that could change is the hardtop section for the Surrey top. So that's it for now, guys. We'll spray these down with Goo Gone, let it sit, and hopefully we'll be able to get those labels off without too much scrubbing, and then we'll come out and we'll start working on these grill vents. Hot in the garage today with the humidity. It's supposed to be 104 degrees Fahrenheit, so I don't think I'll be out here for very long anyway, but we'll do a few small projects where we can. All right, we've been working on the vent tubes for a little while. We've got the flange looking much better. We've got the body sanded back down. We've got it welded fully at the top. There's the weld line there. You can probably see it better on the inside. I'm not too worried about that. On the inside, we might do a little bit of body work on that just to cover that area up. We've also got the holes drilled for the grills. There's one here and one on the other side. I think we're just going to go 2. I think that'll be enough just to keep that the grill from moving around and rattling out. Like I said, it's a fairly snug fit in there. So I think that's looking pretty good compared to this one. Is going to be the next thing we fix up. This one was in better shape anyway. So we'll just re-weld this guy up, clean him up, trim him up a little bit, and this one should be good to go. So we've got to do the same thing. We've got to drill some holes in the body of the tube and into the grill to get this to affix with a couple of sheet metal screws later on. So we'll go ahead and we'll locate those and do that as well as weld up this top section. So that's it for now. That's a quick update. So that's definitely looking better than it did. And next step for this one is to get this into primer. And like I said, we may do a little tiny bit of body work on it. It's not really visible. This flange piece is visible. This top piece might be visible if you're actually up under looking inside the car. I don't know if anybody would be lying on their backing and looking upwards, but like I said, we might body work this just a little bit just for peace of mind. All right, let's get this one done and knocked out. All right, guys, Tuesday night, back in the garage, and we did manage to finish off the vents, the tubing, the ducts, whatever you want to call them, yesterday. So the flanges look much better. I don't think I came back and gave you an update on those. I did try to do a little bit of live action on those. Hopefully that turned out. So anyway, those are pretty much ready to go to the next step, which will be to get them into epoxy primer and then into high build primer. And like I said, we'll probably end up doing a little bit of body work on those. That flap is ready to go, and then those of course need to be scuffed down and primered as well before paint. So we'll get to that in the near future. Just looking at some other things to do, and I decided that I was going to grab my side window glass for the doors, as these are probably going to be going out to be tinted like the rear backlight has been tinted. These will get the same effect. So those I'm going to have to clean up. They were sitting up here on the top shelf of this stand here for the last, I don't know, 4 years or something, so they're pretty dirty. They were also being kept company by the rear bumper. So I've pulled that down to have a better look at it, and it's in not great shape. And that's why I was threatening to do the plasti dip on the bumpers, because the chrome's not great, and that would be a new bumper purchase for me to have to do. I'm not sure if I want to do that at this point of the restoration or just wait. So that's going to be a decision that I have to make in the near future. I think a new rear bumper alone is about $600 just for the bumper bar, and then the overriders are probably another 150 bucks on top of that. Something I need to look into, but anyway, I thought I would take it or bring it down and have a bit closer inspection of it. It does actually have some dents in it as well, so it's not just rusty, it's also dented. It got a pretty good dent there right in the center section, right mid-center, and it got a pretty good dent here on the bottom as well. The bottom dents are not so problematic. It's those ones that you're going to be able to see like dead center that are going to be the problem. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you that's what I'm working on. And we're going to get these glasses cleaned up a little bit, and I've noticed already that there's some chipping on the passenger side one at the top. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. So let me get them cleaned up, and we'll have a better look at them, and then we'll get them shipped out for tinting. All right, I gave the side glass a quick clean up, and as you can see probably, they are pretty scratched. So I've got quite a long scratch along the side here. I'm not really worried about the scratch along the bottom, as I believe that's just below or at the place where the window actually stops. So you probably won't actually see that much below the waste seal on the doors. But this one on the side is definitely an issue. So we're going to try to see if we can buff this out. Now, I understand you can use toothpaste to do this, or you can use some special glass polish. I've got some Auto Glim glass polish here. I've also got some Meguiar's Plastex, which is more specifically for plastic, so it's got a fine abrasive in it, but that might work as well. I'm also thinking I might even try to use a little bit of swirl remover, which is basically a fine compound as well, something like toothpaste. So those are my options, and I'm probably going to do it on one of the probably the small DA or a random orbit sander that I have, and we'll give that a shot and see if we can get those scratches out. I think what we'll do is we'll work on these ones down here, which are less important if I screw up, versus the ones on the side. So I'll attempt to get something out on the bottom first before we move on to the side, which will be the visible piece. All right, guys, it's another day. It's an awfully hot and humid day, but we're going to do some priming anyway. So we're going to get the hinges and the ducts into epoxy primer. We've just got that mixed up over here on the bench. We're going to attempt to spray it with my mini Satajet, so I have reduced it a little bit. So it's a little bit thinner to spray out of the gun. So we'll spray this with black epoxy. We'll probably do a little bit of body work on the fender vents or ducts, whatever you want to call them. And then we will do a high build urethane primer on top of that before we go to sealer coat and then back to base coat, clear coat. So a bit of a process, all got to be done. We won't forget to put the vent lid when we get to the color and clear point. It's already been sanded down to 600 grit, so that's ready to go. So it doesn't need to go through the steps that we're going through now with the hinges and the vents. All right, we'll come back once we're done, and we'll give this a little bit of extra drying time since it's so humid out. All right, guys, we have those parts in black epoxy primer, and we're just about to hit them with the high build urethane primer. I've decided to not bother with any body work. I think that's just getting a little bit crazy. I'm probably the only guy that will know that's there. You'll never be able to see that unless you're laying on your back. So we're just going to leave that as it is. The flanges you'll see from the inside of the engine bay. You won't be able to see that top piece. And the fronts you'll only be able to basically see up to where the grill actually is inset. And that's in pretty good shape. So I think we're okay to just go ahead and prime these and live with it. So that's what we're going to do. We've got the primer mixed up over here. This is a high build urethane primer. So we're going to go ahead and spray a few coats on that, and then we'll let that dry for a day or two, and then we'll come back and sand that down and get ready for base coat. You know what? There's something seriously wrong with me. Yeah, we're fixing it. All right, all better now. I'll be able to sleep tonight. So there's the repaired areas. No more weld lines. All is good in the world. You can lie on your back and look up now, and I won't have to worry about it. All right, guys, it's Friday, spray day. Not the best day to spray. 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 70% humidity. But we're going to go ahead and paint these small parts anyway. It's the only opportunity I'll have to do this for the next 4 days. So we're going to get this done while we can. So we've got all the parts hung as best as possible, prevent them from swinging, got them wired up, or I've got a little weight hanging on the end. So these parts are a little bit difficult to paint, as you can imagine. Getting into those inner contours can be a little bit challenging. Hinges are ready to go. Everything's been wiped down for a second time with rubbing alcohol, so we'll break out the black sealer first, and then we'll move on to the base coat, clear coat. Wish me luck. All right, just a quick update for you. Everything now is in royal blue and clear coated. So we'll just let this dry over the next day or so before we move it. So everything looks like it's sprayed out okay. Of course, it'll still need to be color sanded and buffed. But for the most part, I think everything looks good. I did see a run, I think, on the exterior of one of these tubes, which is really no big deal. But other than that, it looks, yeah, there's a bit of a run there. You'll never even see that. So I think it looks pretty good. So we'll call that done and scratch some more parts off the list. And like I said, I believe I only have one more panel to paint, and that is the hardtop for the Surrey. So that is good. We're coming to the end of the painting process, and we can put away our paint gun until the next project. All right, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing.